Representative Porter, this is Dory Ingram speaking. I'm the Atlanta coordinator for the initiative to protect Jekyll Island, and you've talked a lot about how you would balance development on the island with protecting the ecosystems. I wonder if you could go into a little bit more detail about the need of the Jekyll Island Authority to remain fiscally sound, and how you would balance the state park's mission with the Jekyll Island Authority's financial needs, including the appropriate level of commercial development, the enhancement of the quality of the visitor experience, and the protection of the island's ecosystems, with more reference to the financial part of it.
Well, we need to really look at what has been structured with what's being developed there now, especially with the infrastructure. At what point should a developer take care of infrastructure versus the state? And that's something we got to be careful, not just on this park, but any state park. I know that a lot of the other state parks where the developer that has taken the lodge or certain parts of it have been the ones to do the infrastructure improvements, and that's part of what they do and what they have agreed to do in the package with their development. I think what we've got to be careful with, though, is how to balance that. Like I said earlier, just because we can develop 35% doesn't mean we have to. We have a very sensitive ecosystem here. The barrier islands and the maritime forest and the dunes are really a very sensitive area with the nesting for sea turtles, with the birding that's unique here. And whatever development we have, we've got to be mindful that there are some special things that happen here that don't necessarily just have to do with developing for a resort. Now, yes, we want people to be able to share this island, to share this experience, to understand why this is such a special place. But, it's up to the authorities' job to balance that. Now, what was about to happen that we stopped in the legislature year before last, and which I was a very big part of, is the expansion was going to be too intense and take up the remaining part of the open part of the beach. The beach and that experience belongs to our people of Georgia. Like I mentioned, it would have taken up the very last place people could drive directly to the beach, get out, and let their children and grandchildren or themselves just walk and run and enjoy this experience without going through something they had to pay for, or a barrier of housing and other things in front of them. This open area has got to be protected, and we've got to have a board who is sensitive to protecting that. The ecosystem and what is maintained there on the beach and what is maintained inland as well has got to be balanced with the development. So in particular, what I would like to do from now on is, as you redevelop some of the hotels that are run down, and certainly others will have to be redone, is how do you have a developer, how do you have a planner who comes in as either part of the board on behalf of the state, on behalf of the people, to blend that natural area with the developed area. This is a very important concept. There are residential areas along the coast that are being done now. There are residential areas inland and around the suburbs in Atlanta that are taking the outdoors and making sure that areas and green space is protected as you develop it. Well, you got to remember, this is a state park. It's even more important that that concept is understood and applied here. So one of the main jobs I would do as governor is to make sure that that philosophy is reflected through the board members who govern and maintain the day-to-day operation of this island. The economic viability, certainly you want it to be able to support part of itself. Do we want a commercial redevelopment of this island? No, that's not what the intention was, and that's not the direction we should go in. So to balance this with making this experience one that's unique, one that is enjoyable for families, one that is relaxing, one that tells our story and the story of the Barrier Islands of Georgia, is what needs to be maintained foremost, and we need a board that would reflect that too.
Would you comment on the public-private partnership concept, and also the public-private partnership that is about to be in place on Jekyll Island?
Well, I'm worried about the one that's going to be in place, but in other places in the state, we've had some that have been very effective. But of course, what is shared by the state and what is shared by the developer is what needs to be looked at. I know that we have planners, we have people who have experience in these kinds of projects that I'm not aware of being involved in this project. And I think we've got to bring more of them to the table, or have them appointed to the board, or have them as a resource for the state to make sure that the public's interest is protected. Again, when you look at what infrastructure improvements are paid by whom, when you look at what percentage is paid to the state as a benefit of developing this park, let's make sure that those ratios are the same as other places and that it's fair to the people first.
Are there any other statements regarding Jekyll Island State Park that you would like to make that we haven't covered with the questions and comments that I've made and the comments that you've made?
Well, one thing I want to make clear to anyone who sees this and shares this experience with us is that I have been there for years protecting this great place. That this was given to me by the Save Jekyll Island group that has worked so hard, because not just people who live there or share, people just love it, because I love this place too. I've been on the Nature Conservancy Board for 20 years. I'm an Eagle Scout. 4 of my boys are Eagle Scouts. We have canoed down the mighty Altamaha River to see as things transition to the marsh. We have been defenders of the Marshland Protection Act and the things that have made our coast very special. Well, Jekyll is a big part of that. Now, where do we need to go with Jekyll? I think we've got to preserve its integrity, make sure that it's available to the state park, to the people of Georgia, but as much as anything, you have a unique experience here. Let's don't ruin that. Let's save it, protect what is special, and make sure that as we develop, that those natural areas that give you the feel of a maritime forest and the barrier island is preserved forever. This is not meant to be a new resort development. It is a place for regular everyday Georgians to enjoy something that belongs to them, and that availability has got to be foremost in our minds. We have a special place. Let's keep it protected for our people. Thank you.
Thank you.